This is Kathryn Geotzke, host of the Hope Matrix podcast. We are here to share science, stories, and strategies for how to hope. I'm the Chief Hope Officer of the Shine Hope Company, and Shine is the mnemonic for how we teach hope. So when we talk about hope, we talk about how we use stress skills, happiness habits, inspired actions, nourishing networks, and eliminating challenges, which are our thinking patterns that get in the way of our ability to hope. Hope is a skill. You can measure hope, you can teach hope, and you can start practicing skills to activate higher hope in your life today. And on this Hope Matrix podcast, we aim to bring in guests, experts in science, people with stories, and those that have strategies for activating hope in your life. All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hope Matrix podcast. Thank you so much for joining today. Today, we have a dear high school friend whom I haven't connected with in quite some time. We were just reminiscing a little bit, but I have with us Rick Marchetti, otherwise known as Ricky, and Rick knows me as Kathy too. So, but yeah, I'm really grateful to have him here today and have him share his story, his own story, and kind of how he's navigated the last several years with some challenges and yeah. So welcome, Rick. Great to have you here.
Thanks, Kathy. I'm really excited. I'm grateful for you, reaching out and asking me if I want to be a part of this. My wife and I, we just admire the work that you're doing. It's just incredible. And, I'm happy to get on here and share our story with you and your broader audience. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And, when we go through challenges in life, especially significant challenges, what I kind of call large moments of hopelessness, big ones, it can be pretty easy to fall into clinical anxiety and depression and stay in those states of hopelessness. So to me, it's so important that we share skills that we use and strategies for how we navigate these challenges. Life can throw us so many different things. And so, and you have a pretty unique story with your daughter. So I'm wondering if we can just start by you sharing a little bit more about what you went through several years ago. And
Absolutely. So our oldest daughter, Kate, passed away in a car accident about almost 5 years ago. In June, it will be 5 years. She was 22 years old at the time. It was, I remember the police knocking on our door at about 6:45 in the morning that morning to let us know that, about 3 hours earlier, she had been in a car accident. And what happened was it was devastating on several levels. First of all, we lost our child. And that is, as anybody who's been in that knows, it's just as bad as it can possibly get. What made it even more challenging was knowing that our daughter had been under the influence. She had been drinking that night with friends, and on her way home, she crashed her car into another car, and the driver of that car passed away as well. And I always like to mention that driver's name was Joseph Wallace. He was 52 years old. He was a father of two. We mourn him as well, and it was a bad enough situation, and that just compounded things. And it was a bad time, a real bad time for all of us, and it stayed that way for quite some time.
yeah, I mean, anytime we experience loss, especially when it's sudden, abrupt, it changes everything. And like a
It
moment.
really does. I think you talk about hopelessness, right? And I'm by trade, I'm a problem solver. That's what I do, is I fix problems. And the realization that as a father, there was absolutely nothing that I could do to fix this. This wasn't going to get fixed. I couldn't bring my daughter back. I couldn't undo what was done. And the heartbreak compounded that more with that hopelessness and that anger that I had towards Kate at that time. I was so upset with her. And it just, there was nothing that I was gonna be able to do to make it better. And hopelessness, Kath, it set in really, really quickly. It didn't take any time at all.
Yeah. And when you break down hopelessness, looking at just fundamentally, it's that emotional despair. So it is that anger, that sadness, all of that. And then it's the helplessness. So the inability to do anything about it. And so, of course, persistently being in that state is,
Yeah, it tries you down, and it was a, I like to call it a gathering of hopelessness, because it was myself, it was my wife Leslie, our daughters Ava and Emma. Emma's, her and Kate were 11 months apart. I mean, they were, all three of them were very, very close, and that morning was it was a morning that I'll never forget, and no matter how I try, how hard I want to try to forget it, because it wasn't just me, it was other people that were dear to me, that I love with all my heart, that were in so much pain, and none of us knew what to do. I could just recall looking at each set of eyes, and all of us looking to each other as like, what do we do? And nobody had an answer as to what we do, and we just sat there hopeless, and like I said, it continued for quite some time, and you try to gather people around you that care about you. And the cavalry, as I like to call it, they came, right? Our families came from out of town. Everybody was there. But that feeling, it was still there. And it stayed there for a long time. And we didn't know what to do until we started reaching out and trying to figure out, okay, we do want to do something about this, but what is it do we do, and where do we begin? And we began where most people begin in situations like this, and it was, through faith. Where do you go through faith? Me, I'm a very secular person. I'm not really a strong person of faith. My wife is. She really is. So for us, our tracks went a little bit different as to how we were going to solve this, or not solve it, but learn to cope, and understand how each of us were feeling. And we did that through group counseling sessions, one-on-ones with counselors. Our daughters took a very different track. They're very insular. They weren't really interested in talking about it too much, and I attribute a lot of that to youth. That they were united with one another and sharing their feelings with one another. And my hope is that eventually those will come out to a broader base of their friends and trusted ones. Our youngest daughter is very much like me. She's willing to talk about a lot of things. Emma is not so much that way, and that's fine. That's just who she is. But we see that starting to come a little bit more with her as well.
Yeah. And that's when we talk about how we kind of manage those moments of hopelessness, the first key to that is the stress skills. And the stress skills are all about how do you manage that sadness, that grief, that anger, that fear, all of those emotions, that emotional kind of despair you feel when you go through, small or big, or, whatever it is you're going through. And so it sounds to me like therapy was helpful.
It was to a certain extent, and I think at some point I'm a big, how can I help myself kind of guy, and that doesn't really relate to everybody. But I really wanted to do something, because I want to be as honest and transparent as possible. The first 6 to 8 months after Kate passed, I really dove into the bottle in a heavy way. I was drinking a lot, and I like beer, I like wine, but not like this. I became something that I didn't really like. It was comforting, because I would drink myself into this blubbering mess that would cry and then just fall asleep. And by doing that, I was not helping anybody else. And there was a house full of us. It wasn't just me that was grieving, and I wasn't being in tune to their needs by kind of masking my own, just let's just pass out as quickly as I can, so I don't have to deal with the reality of it. So I needed to find a way to forgive Kate, so I could stop being angry, and then I could start working on what I needed to do. So I did that. I did a lot of self inventory. What's wrong with you? Let's look inward, so we could try to solve these problems outwardly with other people that we care about and love. And I started walking, and I find that walking became to me this elixir that was way better than alcohol that I could have ever imagined. I wasn't a huge walker before that. We walked, but not like this. I started doing 3-4 miles a day. I started finding myself getting healthier, losing weight. Still enjoying a glass of wine or a glass of beer, but not boozing every night to the point of incapacitation where I wasn't taking care of anybody. So the walking really became like a lifesaver. And to this day, I walk all the time. I'm not talking, a stroll around the block with the dogs, though we do that. I'm talking about 7, 8, 9 mile hikes, which really you get in tune to nature, man. You get in tune to everything that's going on around you. There's stories, literally stories in every light pole that you pass in the street, and thinking about those things, looking at the birds, looking at trees. It could sound corny, but man, it's there. It's what it's really about. And by doing that, I was able to start pulling myself up, either if I'm walking, I'm either got my headphones on, I'm listening to music, or I'm listening to podcasts like yours, or I got my headphones off and I'm just listening to nature. I'm listening to cars drive by me. I'm listening to everything that goes on with it. And it was so helpful for me to be getting that physical activity in. And you know what? A lot of those times on those walks, like I said, I'm more of a secular person than a person of faith. But I have faith in the universe. I really do. I believe in that. So I'll talk to the universe. I'll talk to Kate through the universe. And if the tears come, they come. And it's great because I think crying is so cathartic when it's done in a healthy way. And you get to go on then, So walking has been, I have many stress skills that I've worked with and happiness habits that I've developed. But walking remains the biggest one. If I'm feeling blue, I get up and I go for a walk. And it changes my perspective on the entire day almost every single time. Almost every single time.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I love that. And yeah, I feel the same way. It does the same thing to me. So, and it's incredible. And it's so easy to turn to boozing. I mean, it's
It
so
is.
easy,
It
but like,
really is. I mean, we you look at the generation that we grew up under, and we were always around booze. I mean, the high school we went to, we were always around booze. It was the easiest thing in the world for us to learn early to start using as a coping mechanism. It's one of the most unhealthy things in the world you can do, but I get it why people do it. I understand it, and I want to try to help people now to say, listen, there's a better elixir out there for you. There really is, and it's just nature. Get out there, be a part of it, and walk around. I was never a big person on staying in shape. I've never been a big workout guy or anything like that.
yeah.
But my youngest daughter, Ava, is a certified yogi. She went to Peru. She became a certified yogi, and she got me into yoga. I'm going to tell you what, that's another thing that is a great stress skill. And it that hour that I'll go to her class, and I don't go all the time, but when I go, it's terrific on so many levels because you're releasing all this bad energy and bringing all this good energy in through your stretching and through the things that you're doing, and the mantras that you're saying. It's been wonderful. So I really believe that when you talk about stress skills and happiness habits, the more that they do with physical activity and being outdoor in nature, the better they are for you. They really, really do help. I'm as cynical as anybody comes. These things really, really help. They do. They've helped me. I'm a walking testament to it. If I can drag myself out of doldrums and the depths of grief by doing these things and getting away from hopelessness and finding hope, anybody can do it. Anybody can do. If you're listening to this podcast, I promise you, you can do it. You can reach out to me and we'll talk about it. You can absolutely do it by physical activity. There's not anybody in the world that can tell me differently because I've done it. I've done it and I live it, and my wife does it and she lives it, and it has saved us. It has absolutely saved us.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And yeah, I mean, when you're in the depths of that emotional despair and you're just like curled up and it seems so impossible to do stuff like that. And how do you take the first step? Like, what's the
It's
strategy?
it's hard. I mean, it's really hard. I mean, you talk about building a nourishing network, right? People around you or exercises that you can do, people around you, listening skills, empathy, building off those things. I think it's really important that as we try to lift ourselves out of these things, as much as we want to talk, it's almost as important to listen, maybe even more so than you speak. I found that through the therapy groups that we were talking about some things. I remember being in this circle, this wide circle, one of the faith-based therapy sessions that we went to, and I sat next to this older gentleman. He had to be probably about 80 years old. His name was David. He was a retired airline pilot. And we got to know him through talking, as we go on this group and talking in circles about, what our loss was. And, everybody there knew that we had lost our daughter. It was actually in the newspaper down here. So a lot of people, our community was a little bit smaller. They knew who we were. Dave had lost his wife of 60 years. So I remember one day where he was talking and he said, I don't want to compare that to your loss, Rick and Leslie, because I could never imagine what it's like to lose a child. My grief couldn't compare to that. And my answer to that was kind of spur of the moment off the cuff. And I thought, I don't know that that's a fair comparison because I haven't lost a spouse of 60 years that I slept next to for 60 years, that I reach over and they're gone. And that's all I knew was that person. I don't want to compare my grief of losing a child to your loss of a wife because they're singular. They're particularly singular. I don't think it's fair to do that. I can never imagine what Emma and Ava's loss of Kate was like because I've been blessed to have my siblings my whole life. My sister Michelle and my brother Michael are both alive and healthy. I wouldn't know what effect it would have on me to lose one of them. I think the devastation would be brutal. I don't think that I would want to compare it to the loss of my daughter. I just think it's unfair to do that. So I think, when we start to think about what our loss is and realize that other people out there have lost people. I mean, you don't love in life unless if you grieve, it's because you've loved, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to lose somebody close to you. It's just going to happen. There's nothing unique about that. It happens to all of us. I think, realizing that was a way for me to say, okay, we're sharing our grief here. I'm not alone. I'm not alone. So now I'm hearing what other people are doing and how they're trying to help me. I'm going to take some steps here. I'm going to put down the bottle. I'm going to get up. I'm going to go for a walk. And I'm going to start with that. I'm going to walk around my block. I'm not going to go for a 5-10 mile walk. I'm going to walk around my block. And the next day, I'm going to do it twice and then 3 times. And I'm just going to keep doing that. And that's what really helped me to start on the road to getting these good habits was realizing that I am absolutely not alone here. There's nothing, I mean, listen, there's nothing unique about the grief that I'm suffering. It's my grief. It's my grief. It's my family's grief, and it's devastating to us. But other people have gone through this as well. And I'm going to connect with them. I'm going to listen to what they have to offer me, and I'm going to take it. I'm going to listen to what they say, and I'm going to use what I think is going to be beneficial to me. And that's what I've done. That's what I've done. That's what's helped me become successful almost 5 years out now, navigating this road. Do I still break down on some days? You're damn right I do. There's still some days I don't want to get out of bed. And I'm going to tell you what, there's days that I've called into work because I was just too grief stricken. And we're almost 5 years in. I anticipate that'll be happening to me 30 years from now if I'm still alive. And I'm okay with that. That's the cost of loving my daughter the way that I loved her, is that I'm going to grieve her. And you know what? I'll take that grief every single day. I will. But I'm still going to move forward in my life. I always say you never move on, but you move forward. So I'm going to move forward in my life, knowing that that's what she would want. And, I'm going to do my best to help other people take those steps as well, because I think it's incumbent upon me. There are people who ministered to me. It's my responsibility now to minister to others. And I'll still accept ministering from other people that want to offer it to me because it's so fruitful. It's beneficial. So that's how we keep moving, Kath. That's what we do.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of things you said there. One, that taking that first step, like not going, okay, I'm going to, go 10 miles today, but chunking it down to, I'm going to get myself around the block. And that's all I need to do, and slowly adding on to that. But, making progress in very small increments and chunking things down to.
It falls into like a lot of falls into goal setting. And we talk about SMART goals. We talk about it in business all the time, what's attainable? That's the big A. Is it attainable? Can I attain this? And I think pushing yourself too hard too quickly, it's not smart. So measure it. And I do a 10-mile walk now, and it's attainable for me. It would not have been attainable for me 4 years ago. I look at I did the Hope happiness test.
The Hope
I
score.
got my score.
Yeah.
The score was a 51, which was pretty good.
Nice.
I have hope,
Yeah.
I thought that was decent. But I think if I would have taken that test 4.5 years ago, I think you would have had a drastically different score.
Absolutely.
So where I'm at now, 5 years later, is
Mm-hmm.
miles away from where I was in the immediate aftermath of Kate's passing.
Yeah.
So I want to tell anybody who's watching or listening, I promise you, you can make these steps. You can make these steps. And it's not easy. There's work that has to be done.
I
You got to
know.
be willing to put in the work. And if you do, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. It's gonna be all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing about the Hope Score. We're all over the place all the time, depending
Yeah.
on what's going on in our lives. And oftentimes, when we go through these big challenges, we abandon all of the things that are healthy for us, and it drives our score down. And that's something like drinking would drive your score down because you're not, making any.
Absolutely.
And it's learning this. Like we're never taught. And that's, especially with young kids, why I'm so passionate about teaching these skills, because drinking makes you feel better. It's not a healthy, it can release, some endorphins, or it can feel better in the moment, and it erases, kind of numbs that pain. But then the on the back end of that, I mean, I started drinking at a very young age as a way to
Mhm.
kind of numb those intense emotions I felt. And it took me a long time to figure out that wasn't a healthy mechanism, but it felt healthy at the time, and I
Sure.
didn't know.
Sure. Sure.
um yeah, but that score again, and the idea is, okay, let's do the steps to start increasing, or let's do the things that can help us improve our hope score,
Yeah.
and that's what it's all about,
Yeah,
learning
for
that you
sure.
can.
I think that it's hard to get through a lot of people. Well, I think a lot of it goes back to for me, what I've come across as we talk about finding healthy ways to pursue happiness, to get away from despair and hopelessness. And we've mentioned already that a lot of that is talking about it. What I've noticed is that my group, men, there's still a lot of taboo surrounding us talking about our feelings, being open about them, and being willing to take those steps. And that's a stigma that I really want to try to erase as best I can. I don't have any illusions of wiping this off on my own. I think that there's a lot of work that has to go into it. But I think that I'm on a I do a lot of writing on social media, and I do some talking. My network's extremely small. I don't have the grasp that most people have. So most of the people who are seeing it are friends or colleagues of mine. It's not out there to the broader audience. I think some of the Facebook groups that I'm in that are for grieving parents. The thing that I see all the time is about mothers, 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 mothers. You don't see people talk about
Mm,
fathers. And the reason
yeah.
people aren't talking about fathers is because we're not talking about it ourselves. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Fathers grieve just like mothers grieve. And,
Yeah.
and it's just as deep, it's just as profound, it's just as painful when we lose a child as it is when a mother loses a child. But people don't realize that because it's our own fault. We don't talk about it. I find there's some Facebook pages that are for dads and fathers who have lost children. And I go on those pages, and there might be 6 or 7 posts a month. When you go on the pages that are for mothers, there's 35 posts per day.
Yeah, right.
Women are more willing to talk about this, and
Yeah.
that's why women are able to cope a little bit better. And I'm willing to say it right here in front of any man that's watching your podcast. Women are just stronger than us. They really are.
Mm,
They build better networks to nourish themselves than we do. And the reason that we don't is it's on us. We own that. We have to be better about that. We have to help each other, men. We have to help each other out. We are our brother's keepers, and we have to be looking out for one another and saying it's okay to talk about this. And any of your listeners out there, you know what? Kathy can give you my contact information. Reach out to me and we'll talk about it. Because you know what? It's important that we talk about it because we're going to continue to spin our wheels. The strong silent type, those were our dad's days. We need to be the
mm,
type that can talk because when we put on that strong silent act, not only do we hurt one another, we hurt our wives, we hurt our daughters because they want us to open up. They want us to talk to them about it. We need to be willing to do that. And, there's a lot of men out there that do that. So I'm not saying it, I'm not throwing a blanket out there. What we do is collectively, we need to be better. We just hurt ourselves. We don't help out our brethren the way that we should be.
absolutely. I love that. And I'm so grateful, Rick, to you for that. My dad talked about in his like kind of final days, just how much he had to repress emotions as a kid. Don't feel that way. Don't be sad. Like you're the father, you're the man, you're the man of the house, or you're the, because he lost his dad at a young age and had a lot of grief that was unexpressed. And it came out as things like anger, he would
Yeah.
explode. And that's what happens with men. If you don't, and with anyone too, but if we're not expressing our emotions, they do eventually come out one way or
Oh,
another,
yeah. Yeah, you're not going to suppress them. You may as well even come out the way that you'd like them to come out than the way that they're naturally going to come out. I never saw my father cry not once in my life. And that man went through it. He went through a lot. I never saw him cry once. And I like to say he had two gears, sweetest guy in the world and filled with rage, but
Yeah.
even his
Yeah.
rage he suppressed. And
Yeah.
that's not healthy. There's better ways to get things out. And it's yeah, I hope that I think our generation is starting to do it a little bit better, and I hope our kids' generation is definitely going to do it better. They will do it better. So I think there's a lot of hope, in that respect for future generations of men.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it starts with men like you coming and being vulnerable and brave and like sharing and being open to, experiencing that, and being a container for other men going through challenges, whatever it is. And I think a really important point that you brought up is that grief doesn't just end. It's not like you get through a certain period of time and it's better and I mean, I still, for me, have days that I just break down and cry, like
Yeah,
can't believe my dad's not here, and that's okay. And we've got to allow that, and we've got to accept that, and we've got to honor that.
I think honor is the big word. That's the big word. I think grief is honor. I mean, realize why you're grieving. It's because you loved someone.
Yeah.
Okay, and how lucky were you to have loved someone, and that someone loved you back? I mean, that's what a gift to give to one another. And man, if I never thought about Kate again, I just put it away. What a dishonorable thing that would be to do to her memory and her love. I think grieving's important, and like you said, it doesn't go. It rides shotgun with you for the rest of your life, and it doesn't set a timetable, and it's not going to tell you when it's going to make an appearance. Right?
Right.
It likes to play the
So,
surprise game. Oh, guess what? I'm here now.
yeah.
Take it in. Take it in.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here to remind me of how much I love that person.
Hmm.
How blessed am I that I get to grieve? So, would I rather have my daughter here? A million yeses, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
But the reality is she's not here. So I'll take that grief every single time. And I think all of us will.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
important.
Oh, she is so proud of you and
Oh,
grateful
well,
for all you're doing.
well,
Yeah.
thanks. I
Yeah.
believe she is. And some of the stress skills, or I say happiness habits that we've done. I spoke with you about it a little bit when we were chatting one on one. We started a scholarship funding case named Kate was she was a varsity golfer. She was a great golfer. I
Wow.
think I beat Kate golfing the first three times we went out, and then after that, it didn't happen too much anymore. And she was a trash talker. She had attitude on the golf course, but we uh, we started a scholarship in her name, and it benefits our high school, Kathy Oak Park River Forest High
Mm-hmm.
School, go
Mm-hmm.
Huskies, where we went to high
Go
school.
Huskies,
And
right.
we've given out $20,000 in scholarships so far, and another $20,000 to Kate's high school down here in Frisco, Texas. So people are benefiting from that. They're it's
Mm.
our way of saying your life here mattered. It was worth something, and people are going to remember your name because when they're 50 years down the road and they talk about their college experience, I was able to go to college because I went benefited by the Kate Marchetti scholarship, and
Oh.
I got there because of her. So we do that, and we actually next Monday or next Wednesday is our scholarship presentation at OPRF. We're really excited. There are two students who are going to be getting scholarships. So, we find that makes us happy.
Yeah.
Booking that trip to go to Chicago every year, that makes us
Mm.
happy. Walking
Mm-hmm.
around downtown Oak Park and staying at the Carlton Hotel and going to dinner at Fort Phil's, that
Oh,
makes us happy. I'm taking you down memory lane. That
I
makes us
know.
happy because we get to do that because she was here, because she mattered, and she's benefiting people. So that is a great happiness habit that we've developed out of that. That we get joy out of that. So
Mm.
that's really important. So living in the now is
Yeah.
really important,
Yeah.
and finding things that we can do. to, in any way possible, to find joy in her name. And that's what we do.
That's amazing.
It is.
Yeah. How do you stay in the now? How do you stay out of the rumination or if only, or I should have, or
The if onlys are, man,
I
it's
know.
such a great question. You know, it's such a rabbit hole that you can go down.
I
I mean, I think all the
know.
time, I really do. I think, man, what if I hadn't accepted a job down here 17 years ago and we stayed living in Oak Park? Would this have
Yeah.
ever happened?
Yeah.
Um, you
It's
can do that to yourself until
I
the cows come home, and
yes.
not going to change anything.
Yeah.
So what I've tried to do is turn those what ifs into what was. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
instead of wondering what if I had done this or what if I had gotten home earlier that night and Kate had hung out with me instead, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to focus on that because that didn't happen. What I'm going to focus on was the what was. Kate was kind. She was kind to people. Kate
Mm-hmm.
was supportive. She sat with the kid that sat with nobody else at the lunch table. That's who she was. Kate was inclusive. Kate was funny. She was so funny. She was smart. She was beautiful. But more than anything, she was kind. She was a
Mm-hmm.
kind person. So by
Mm-hmm.
focusing on the what was instead of the what ifs, it
Yeah.
allows me to stay in the right now. The
Yeah.
right now. I'm gonna remember all those things. I'm gonna focus on that. It's gonna help me gear myself towards a day that's built around happiness and
Mm-hmm.
joy and giving. What can
Mm-hmm.
we give? Okay. I talked a little bit earlier about ministering to people because so many have ministered to us. What can we give in whatever way it is? And I mentioned Kate's scholarship. We spend a lot of time ourselves donating to these causes as well because they're worthwhile. They matter. They matter to people. And if it helps them to help somebody else, we're going to do that. And that's how we stay in the now, is just by looking for opportunities to shine a little bit of sunshine on people's day. Kate's
Mm-hmm.
favorite flower was the sunflower. I see you guys are
Yes,
big on
we
sunflowers.
yeah, we
So
use
when Kate passed away and we had her funeral, my wife and our daughters made specific asks to their friends. We don't want to see people dressed in black. Dress in yellow if you can. I had a black
oh.
suit on with a yellow tie because we're
Mm-hmm.
going to shine light wherever we go. So when I saw your company, Hope Shine, I was like, you got to be kidding me. This is just right up our alley. This is so,
Yeah.
it helps. It really does. You
Yeah.
know, colors strike moods, and
Yeah.
they really
Yep.
really do. They fire a light
Yeah.
under your mood for the day. So I try to dress in a lot of bolds and pastels because they make me happy, and
Uh-huh.
I think that they bring energy to any room that I walk into.
Yeah, they
The energy that
do.
I want to give off is
Right.
happiness.
Yeah.
There's a way to do that. There really is a way to do that. And
Mm,
and and when you have that happiness, it just it hope is contagious. It really, really is.
I
It's
know.
so contagious. When you see a
Mm.
hopeful person that's a shining happiness, it lights something underneath. It does for me at least. I feel that
Yeah.
energy, and I'm like, hey man, you know what? I'm going to grab onto what you got, and I'm going to try to
Right.
pass that on to the next person that's willing and wants to grab onto that as well. So let's
Yeah.
forget about the what ifs. Let's talk
Yeah.
about the what was and what can be, because
Oh,
those are the important things. We got to live in the now. We got to live in the future.
yeah.
Okay,
I
we're
love
going to take
that.
with us. We're going to take with us everything that's important to us. We really are. Like I said, we're not moving on. We're moving
Mm,
forward. We're going to
mm,
continue to do that. We're going to do it with the best intentions. We're going to do it with as much hope as we can, and we're going to share that hope with everybody that we can. And we're going to try to bring happiness to as many people as we possibly can. It's incumbent upon us to do it. We owe
mm,
it to people. I owe it to people because people have shown me how to find my way out of the depths that you guys just can't comprehend, or
mm,
maybe you can. And if you
mhm,
can, then that's an even bigger reason for you to jump on this and say, all right, what are my happiness habits?
mhm,
Positive stress skills am I going to use?
mhm.
And I
Yep.
guarantee you, again, if you're watching this, you can reach out to me. I guarantee you, Kathy would be happy to help you in any way. And
Mhm,
people who watch Kathy's podcast who have been on here before, I've watched them. They've
mhm,
inspired me. They're so inspiring. I mean,
mhm.
you see people who have run the gamut of just grieving, addiction, whatever it is that they've found their way into a better place. I mean,
Yeah.
if we get nothing out of this, we need to get the fact that one day at a time, you can get yourself out of your despair.
Absolutely.
It's
Yep.
definitely there. You can't
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, shine hope is a simple framework, but it's not easy. It's
No,
like
it's
not
not.
like you
It's
just,
not.
you've
I
got
mean,
to
look, if
do the work.
you got to put in the work. And I'm going to tell you, listen to your audience if you're out there, and if this is resonating with you because you've grieved, because you've lost. Here's what I'm going to tell you: talk about it. Talk about
Mm.
it as often as you can to as many
Hmm.
people as you can. I promise you that you're going to find people that care about you, that want to
Hmm.
listen to you, that really are gonna understand your grief, your despair, and your loneliness. The key to finding happiness is going to be initially talking about it. If you're
Hmm.
silent about it, if you just close up and you hold in, you almost do revert to helplessness because nobody knows what you're going through. You don't
Yeah.
have to go through that alone. You really don't. I would never want to go through it alone. I need that human connection. I need to
Hmm.
talk to people about it. And I I promise you, if you're going to find people to talk to, they're going to
Yeah.
share exactly the same things you've been going through, and you're just going to sit there and you have this moment of, okay, I can make it. I think people in AA like to call it that moment of clarity. There's that
Mm.
moment of clarity where you're like, this is going to be all right. This is going to be. I'm going to carry this weight with me forever,
Hmm.
but it's not going to be as heavy as it is right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
talk about it. And the other thing I would recommend is just keep yourself
Hmm.
active as you can. And like I said, if you got to lay in bed for a day, go ahead and do it. You've earned
Yeah.
it. I, I,
Yeah.
I believe that you have earned it. But get out there, walk with nature, talk to the universe, talk to, it might sound stupid in your head, talk to those birds that are flying by you, because there's a story to them too, and the last thing I would say is cry. It's
Yeah.
okay to cry. It's so
Mm.
healthy to cry. It's so cathartic. I bring myself to tears purposely sometimes just because it makes me feel better. I don't
Yeah.
know if you remember Coach V, Jimmy Valvano,
Yeah.
North Carolina State. He died of cancer. He's such an inspiring guy. And he said the three things that you could do every day: if you could spend some time in thought, if you can laugh, and if you can cry. If you could do those three
Mm.
things each day, you've had a great day. You've had a really, really good day. We can all do that. We can all do that. We can spend some time in thought. We can laugh and we can cry, and all those things are okay, and all those things are right to do. So I would that would be my best advice I can give you. And just to remind you that I have an open ear for anybody. If you want to talk,
Mm.
I want to listen. I really do.
Oh, you're the best, Rick. I love it.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, you're so sweet and such an inspiration for all of us. And I mean, yeah, we learn from other people that have gone through it before us. And the goal
Yep.
is to get the word out about skills and things we can do that work. I mean, learning from failures and then also learning what works and trying those even in really tiny small doses because it
Yep.
can feel so overwhelming when you're in despair and helplessness to do anything. But
Yeah. You had said it earlier. It's small pieces, the SMART
yeah,
goals.
yeah,
Nothing's going to get better 100% overnight. It's just not, folks.
yeah.
We got to take it one day at a time, gang. And if we do that, it's gonna get better. I promise you.
Yes, absolutely. And we do have an anxiety and depression support group online. I think we have 11,000 members.
Wow.
I know. So, there is always support. You might have to be a little bit creative about how you find it or how you get in touch, but I think the internet, the positive of it is it's made it easier to find people that can support us in our journeys and listening to things. And there's so much information now you can read and learn that's really awesome too. So yeah, I
Terrific.
love that. Is there anything else you want to share or
No, I
talk
think
about or
I think I would just say, I am so grateful for you to have me on here. And you know, if there's one parting thing I would say is to your friends listening and your network out there. You know, my daughter Kate was literally one of the best people I've ever known in my life. She was such a great kid, and she was becoming such a great adult. She was pursuing nursing, and she was a wonderful nurse. She was a kickboxing instructor. She inspired people in her life. She was all about the inspirational quote. She dropped me an inspirational quote text every single day, and
mm,
we were super, super, super close. We were really tight, and her death devastated me. It crushed me to my absolute core. But I'm living proof right here that I've gotten better. I've embraced the grief. I've embraced all that comes with that. And it's a good thing that I've embraced that because it's a positive. I love my daughter. I love that she visits me in a different form every single day. And I promise you again, no matter how bad you're suffering, no matter what your struggle is, whether it's grief or addiction or anything else, one day at a time, you will get better. Put in the work. The work is worth it. It's hard work. The rewards, you can't even imagine what the rewards are. They're that good. So please keep trying. I'm pulling for you. I'm praying for you. I'm hoping for you. And I'm here for you. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity to talk with you. It's just been so fun. I've never been on a podcast before, so it's really
Nice.
cool from that level too. So yeah,
That's awesome. Well, those are pretty inspiring words. And yeah, and you mean it. You've always been the sweetest, kindest human. And so when you say that, I know that you actually mean that, and you actually want to be there for people and want to
I do.
support them in their journey and care deeply for them and for their, finding their way through whatever, again, like you said, whatever it is they're dealing with. So pretty amazing. And, it's going to change for men with people like you being brave and vulnerable and authentic about the challenges you're having and your openness about it. And then taking that and sharing how you're getting through it. Because it's, like you said, you were closer to her than, so close and such a strong tight bond. And so that loss, it's a big hole, and it's a challenge to navigate how to get through that. And so you sharing is, I am certain, going to help other people
Well,
navigate it. So
I certainly hope so. And just quick shout out to my wife Leslie, my daughters Emma and Ava, because they are my crutches. Without them, I'm not sitting here talking to you. They have saved me in every way that a man could possibly be saved. So, they're my true heroes. The three of them are my heroes, and I love them dearly. And their ears are open for anybody who wants to talk as well. Trust me, they're big-hearted people. So, this has just been so wonderful. I'm so thankful to you. I really am. And I watch all. I haven't gotten through all of them yet, but I've watched a lot of them, and I am so proud of you. I'm so proud to be a Husky with you. I'm so proud that you're doing the work, and I know Scott's a big part of it as well. Another Husky who I just admire the heck out of. The both of you guys, you get just a big kiss to the both of you, because the work you're doing is inspiring, and I just hope that you continue doing it because it's needed. There's such a void of this going on. There are so many people who are not getting the mental health care that they need. And I think that we all owe it to ourselves to push our elected leaders, to push people in power to say, hey, you know what? Here's something that really needs some serious funding, more so than it's getting now. And I think you guys carry a big voice in that. And I want to help you with that in any way that I can. So please call on me whenever you feel the need to. I'm here for Hope Shine because I think it's just the greatest thing. I really do.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rick. I'm so grateful. And thank you to all you listeners for listening in. And please do share and subscribe to the podcast if so inspired. Get the message out. And, if you are struggling, know you're not alone. And in the US, 988, the crisis text line, available. So please do reach out. And thank you. Thank you for helping us shine a light on hope and how we activate hope in our lives. So keep shining no matter what life brings. It's so important to always find your way back to hope. Thanks so much. So thank you all for listening in to the Hope Matrix podcast. We want to shine a light that hope is teachable, hope is measurable and teachable, and provide you with actionable insights for how you can start activating hope in your life today, and provide a framework so you can start talking about hope with other people and practice these skills together, because we are better with hope. Please feel free to check out theshinehopecompany.com, where we list all of our resources around how to hope. We have a lot of free programs for how to hope, including the 5-day challenge, our hope infographic with a lot of skills that showcase how to hope, and articles of how to incorporate hope into your life. We have the Hope Beat Weekly, which is a weekly newsletter that shares strategies for hope. We have a My Hope Story template, so you can write your own hope story today. Also, My Hope Hero, so we can share what our heroes are doing to activate hope in their lives. And this is especially good with youth, so they can start looking up to people that have overcome similar challenges to them and seeing how these heroes use the Shine Hope framework. We have a Hopeful Minds for Teens program, a Hopeful Minds overview, educator guides. We have a new evidence-based college course so you can activate hope on the college campus. There are programs in the workplace, overview courses, 90-minute courses for learning the what, why, and how to hope. What I want you to know about hope is it's a skill. You've got to practice these skills to become hopeful. It's easy to fall into despair and helplessness when we deal with challenges in life, and it takes intentional work and practice to get to hope. And yet it is always possible. So no matter what life brings, keep shining hope. Thanks so much for listening in. Have an awesome day. And of course, I've got to add that this program is designed to assist you in learning about hope. It should not be used for medical advice, counseling, or other health-related services. I, Fred, the Shine Hope Company, and myself, Kathryn Geotzke, do not endorse or provide any medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. I am not a medical doctor. The information provided here should not be used for the diagnosis or treatment of any medical condition and cannot be substituted for the advice of physicians, licensed professionals, or therapists who are familiar with your specific situation. Consult a licensed medical profession or call 911 if you are in need of immediate assistance. And be sure to know the crisis hotline, 988, if you are in need of support. Thanks a bunch for listening. Take good care of yourself and keep shining hope.